Hi everyone, and welcome back to Simo's and Rob's little toolbox talk on how to run a business, I guess. Today we thought we would talk about SWOT. What's SWOT mean to you, Simo?
SWOT is a very important piece in the puzzle, and you probably heard us, or particularly Robbie, go on about it in quite a lot of detail. But if it wasn't,
I think it's important.
No, well, it is. Yeah, if it wasn't important, you wouldn't be driving the point home. But it's definitely not a term that you would have come across within your trade. So that's another reason we're doing these little clips, is to bring you up to speed onto the reason why. Now, a SWOT is a building block for your business plan, and it's probably one of the key elements in your business plan. You've got to look at it in its entirety. So what does SWOT stand for? SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, the way you fill out a SWOT is you would start with your strengths. So what have you personally got by way of qualifications that makes you special? What experience do you have that makes you special? As in, you have these niche elements to your career to this point in time that gives you an advantage over others.
So you start in a personal SWOT before you do a business SWOT?
You don't go anywhere near a business SWOT until you've completed a self-analysis of yourself. You need to be brutally honest with yourself, and that's why we're looking at your personal level, and it hurts. First time I did it, I was gutted, some of the weaknesses that I identified.
That's a good thing though, that's a strength, because now you've identified your weaknesses, you can actually do something about it.
Yeah. So, but before you can do that, we've got to start on the plus side of the ledger, and what we've got to do is we've got to get all of our strengths listed down. So whether they be qualifications, experience, contacts, intangible things, like how well you're known, little things like that will have a big impact on how well you do with all of this. From there, you'd move on to your weaknesses. So you have to be so critical. Oh, I'm always late in the mornings getting up. I don't start early. Well, that's a weakness. Unfortunately, you've got to tick that one.
I hate paperwork. That's a weakness. I hate running paperwork, running the business.
If you can't look at paperwork and analyse it quickly and make decisions, you can always get a bookkeeper later. But initially, you're going to have to start yourself. And how well you keep your books is how well you will be in the profit margin later on.
Would you call that internal analysis, your strengths and your weaknesses?
Well,
as an internal?
You need to keep it real. I mean, the bottom line is it's what you're lacking. What yourself personally is lacking. And like I said, the more brutally honest you are, the more capable you are of turning a weakness into a strength. So that's why you have to do these first two.
And don't forget, it's not for anyone else to see. It's for your own personal self-reflection to work out how I can make, change things to I guess, time with your life plan and make yourself stronger and better.
We'd already been in business a number of years before I came across all of this, and I wished I'd learnt about it from day one. And I guess that's why we're pushing the point home with just how important it is. So from your weaknesses, then you need to look outside the square, and then you're looking at your opportunities. Okay, where do I fit in the market? How can I position myself to start a business in the market where there is an opportunity to exploit?
Do I know somebody who's going to have a large contract coming up, a large amount of work? Is that an opportunity for me to try and get that work off them? Free money, business grants off government is possibly an opportunity sometimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. I think that's different, but we'll talk about that later. What I'm talking about is, like everyone by now would know, I'm a plumber by trade, but for me it was identifying between 2005 and 2008 there was a drought in southeast Queensland, and rainwater tanks were the big thing. So I knew that if I created an opportunity with my talent, skills, and the opportunity that was presenting itself, I'd have a better than good chance of being successful. So for me, from 2005 to 2008, it was imperative that I found a niche in the market within the rainwater tank business to take advantage of the drought. So that's how it worked for me.
Which brings us to another point too, like how often and when should you start doing SWOTs? You know, beginning of projects, opportunities you see.
You should be doing, once a month you should be analysing where you're at with your own SWOT. As far as seeing where you're at. I mean, because you can improve things overnight.
Yeah.
It only takes 30 days to set a new habit. If you're late for work every day and you really want to change that and you want to make that an asset instead of a weakness, make it a strength, it takes 30 days of getting up early, and before you know it, you'll be getting up early every day. So, like I said, a weakness can become a strength. It's how you do it. So the opportunity is there to change the focus of your whole business based on what's happening around you and how you've changed yourself. But again, you need to identify those lacking elements that you've been able to turn around into a strength. So that's why I say 30 days is always good to have a reflection on your own performance and your own weaknesses and strengths. And what other opportunities have arisen in that time?
That's right. Keeping track of what's going on around you.
Absolutely. You've got to keep your eyes open, because the quicker you're able to adapt and move and innovate, future business no longer revolves around what's going on. Everyone's looking to the future. What's next?
Yeah.
Innovation and entrepreneurship is where your opportunities are going to come from. So, I'd love to be starting a business today, because, there are so many opportunities. It doesn't matter. People say, oh, there's no work. Bull dust. There's plenty of work. You just got to know how to take advantage of it.
Right. You got to be ready for it.
Yeah, which brings us to the next point.
Yeah. Threats.
Yeah. Threats we have no control over. Some we can control, but a lot we can't. So therefore, what we've got to try and do is what we call future-proof our business or ourselves against the threats having an impact on what we're doing.
We can sort of plan for threats and we can mitigate them to a certain degree, but again, that comes down to good planning, to actually sort of assess what may happen in the future. You may be able to put some plans in place to reduce the threat.
I think a big one, and we've talked about it, and I'll lay it out right now, 10% of everything you earn, you should be putting aside, because if another COVID-19 comes along and you don't have a nest egg somewhere for a rainy day to keep paying your outgoings. Remember, your fixed costs don't change. We've talked about that once before, haven't we, Robbie?
We haven't, do.
So you need to be planning for that. So COVID-19, I've never seen anything like that myself in the whole 60 years I've been on this earth.
And don't forget how lucky we actually have been compared to other countries too.
Yeah. But in saying that, COVID-19 is providing a lot of opportunities that weren't here before. It's changing the way we're all doing business.
Which is a good thing, quite frankly.
It's a great thing. So a threat can turn into an opportunity very quickly. It's how you are able to adapt and find ways of making a threat an opportunity.
Absolutely.
You need to have a helicopter view of yourself first, and only then can you take that into a business structure and sense. But you need to be very aware of what's going on around you. You can't keep your head in the sand. A good thing is to read your news links every day. If you're not big on reading the newspaper, get big on it. You're not reading the negative stuff. What you're looking for is opportunities in what's going on around you on a local level.
And I guess you're trying to plan stuff too. If you'd have more information, you might be able to better plan for the future, better anticipate what might be happening.
We're going to talk more later about two timing things that you need to look into, and that's a macro view of where you're at and a micro view. And we will talk about that in a separate time. But suffice to say, the SWOT is extremely important in you having all of the elements to put into your business plan to make it robust and have longevity and be adaptable. You know, you need that adaptability. And one of your greatest strengths as an individual operator is being able to move quickly with the times and the changes, whereas a lot of bigger businesses are locked in. They can only do one certain type of work. They can't adapt like you can. So again, there's a strength.
That's an absolute strength for a small company. A small company is more agile than a large company. They can change midstream if an opportunity presents itself. So being small companies has its advantages and disadvantages, but I think it has more advantages over larger companies in certain aspects for sure.
That's for sure. Well, Robbie, I think we've probably covered enough in this short take.
I think we have. Thank you for listening, and we'll have a lot more later on. Catch you later.